real life is kind of a scam. I'm Dom Jackson, David A. Media, and this is the 7 Day Scoop Show, my weekly show where I document my career and decisions that I'm making, yet eventually trying to pursue. I use my stories and my ventures to motivate and teach you. And yeah, real life is kind of a scam. But I'll tell you that why in a second. Updates, still applying for jobs. A couple interviews that I really wanted, they did not go through. But then I realized today I haven't even done 10 interviews, period. And then I've only had 2 second-round interviews. So like my volume was way too low. You try to do so much work to get somewhere and you don't realize what your actual numbers are. That's why you gotta track KPIs. Like I only had 2 second-round interviews. Only 2. I have another one tomorrow, so that's gonna be my 3rd one tomorrow, and I had an interview today. So, but like, anyway, I was definitely like a little hurt, but math-wise, it didn't even fucking make sense, bro. Like, volume is the game. But with that, this whole interview process and job process, I just learned a lot of stuff is just bullshit, and not in a scam in a sense where like it's more about posturing to make it happen. What does that mean? Because when you look at like applying to these companies, at least my old mentality, you know, when you don't work, let's say you don't have a college degree, and you work in, maybe you work in retail or you work in a grocery store, there's a certain level of, I want to say, at least from my own frame of view, if people that work in companies have a certain level of at least more prestige, in my opinion, just because the amount of the pay gap between some of those positions, like if you're doing a salary role making this amount and you have a hourly role making this amount, at least market value wise, you're like, all right, this makes more than I do, so I can see why this is valued more. But then looking at this, like, okay, if you're working for a company, if like applying for companies, for example, if I'm working for a startup versus working for an established company like in similar sectors or around the same sectors, the startup, if the startup's like a VC funded one, it's just a company funded with a bunch of money from other people, but like they don't know what the fuck they're doing, like they're still figuring that shit the fuck out. So it's just like, is it a scam? I mean, you're getting paid real money, but as far as what the actual company does, it doesn't even know what it's doing yet, and it's still figuring it out. And it's like, all right, cool. You're because other company that's more established, they have they figured out this much. They figured out to get exactly where the fuck they are. But guess what? You can't just stay where the fuck you are, because you have to figure out what the next phase of everything else is. So really, they don't know what the fuck they're doing either. Like, they know what they did, and they have an idea of how to keep doing what they did, but they're still figuring it out too. And I mean, I don't have to get too crazy, but like in the real world right now, you know, we got some more stuff that's just about to start happening in the US, and that's gonna change a lot of things as well. They don't know what the fuck they're doing either, dog. Like, who really knows what the fuck they're doing? And that's why I'm like, dog, this shit is more of a scam than you think, and people are just get better at bullshitting. Like that is just it. Motherfuckers are just better at bullshitting. And the better you are at bullshitting, you can at least finesse your way in positions where you can know how to bullshit the way you need to bullshit. Because I'm not gonna lie, between me in January versus me now, the way I know how to put together what I've done into a narrative that fits, like, hey, you know, I've always loved to do things. I'll give you guys the baseline of it right now so you can have an idea for it. But the baseline of it that I think applies universally, because the world is quote unquote a scam, if you can put together truths that you actually have and put that into a frame that fits into what the other person needs to hear, you can win. Like, I think that's literally just what life is. It's just figuring out how to talk about things, communicate the value that is real to people in a way that it applies to you. And that's how people get voted on. That's how you get a job. That's how you get a sale. That's how you get fucking people to watch your videos. You just have to get enough truths that either work through your direct truths or truths in like reality, and then you just make the motherfuckers work together in a story, and then people will buy that shit, because half the motherfuckers don't know what they're doing anyway. There might be 10 people who actually know what the fuck they're doing. Me included. Me included, bro. Me fucking included. Now, I was a guy in a car recording a video, but like, just looking at how these companies are moving and how some of them explain their target markets and like they go through their process, I actually had someone today in the interview tell me that I had all the intangibles. So I asked her, I was like, hey, is there anything I've told you so far that make you would want to move to the next step? Cause I'm like, bro, you have to ask that kind of shit now. I need that feedback ASAP. I'm not fucking playing. Like, motherfuckers hiring me. So, because look, I learned. But anyway. But learning how to create the perception of you being valuable, even if you are valuable, but if you can't create the perception of the value, no one's gonna fucking know. So like, just being confident for no reason and just being able to articulate things in a certain way for no reason is enough to get you in the game. What was I saying before? People figuring out companies, bullshit. But yeah, so what I was saying was that half the world is bullshit, dog. And people that are really quote unquote winning are just better at bullshitting more than people who are not winning. Now, there are real truths that people stumble across along the way, and that I believe is like the skill set. If you can find the truths and then spin the truths in your way, you're winning. You know what I mean? If you did 100 push-ups, you did 100 push-ups. Now, how does 100 push-ups relate to you getting a job? Well, it shows that I can do things consistently, and it took me a while to work up to those push-ups. So I had to do, 10 push-ups a day for 4 weeks, and then I had to do 25 a day for 10 days, and then it built me up the skill set to do that. And because I built up the skill set doing those push-ups, I learned that no matter where you are, as long as you're putting the right time and effort into, you can get the result you want to achieve. And that's why I think that my opportunity to work with Sassafras will help me go into a better spot, because I already proved to myself that I can take this from here. And based on what you guys were trying to sell currently, your product of, the ultimate CRM, I know that if I put enough reps of push-ups, of 10 contacts of these people who fit the exact customer profile what you guys want, I know I can do my push-ups, get my 100 push-ups to get to the sale of your company. And that's all you have to fucking do. That's all life is, dog. Do one thing and then just figure out how to make that shit work for you forever. I think that's the real shit that I ever just figured out or just didn't figure out. I'm in the process of getting. But learning how to construct a narrative that fits your goals, have an agenda and know how to work your agenda is the game. That's sales, that's marketing, and that's the business as a whole once you figure out how to put that shit through a pipeline. Then you organize people around the same way, because people need money. And if you're making the money and you got the money and you know how to tell people what to do to make more money, you got a company. But it's like, bro, maybe bullshit's not the word to use, but it's kind of bullshit, dog. Like, it is, the art is figuring out how to make things correlate, even if they don't, that fits your agenda. And that's just it. You can turn push-ups to a job interview. I just did it right there. So, kind of a rant, but also kind of some real shit in here too. As always, take it one step at a time. You'll get there day by day.